So many young men today are either confused, lost, and misunderstood. In today's society, I will break down what is going on and I will tell you about why so many young men are lost and just tired. Watch this video and let me break it down to you. Good day, good day. Hope everyone is doing well today. Welcome back to my channel, My Life Perspective. I will give you life from my own lens perspective on what is going on in today's society with today's men. So let's go ahead and get right to it. There are so many young men today that are misguided, who truly do not know their purpose, what they want to do with their lives, trying to figure out what it is that they're, where they're going, what they're trying to do, and what they want to build and establish, whether that be career, relationships, finances, so on and so forth. And I find it sad today, for some young men, because a lot of times the things that we could relate to today that helped young men in previous generations, some of these young men don't have today. And what are some of the examples of the things that some of these young men are lacking? Fatherhood, right? Something that I never, experienced, but one thing I can say, especially in the black community, but any race or community, is a lot of young men today are lacking fatherhood. They're lacking fathers in homes, showing them, guiding them, and teaching them the true art of masculinity, the true ways of being strong, masculine men who are productive, who think for themselves, and who are simply just not doormats. Too many times, or too often in our society, we are telling young men through the media, through these false tropes and narratives, that men must, be pretty much simps. They must be doormats. They must walk around apologetic and, walk around without a sense of purpose, knowing that it's okay. But in reality, it's not. Right? We live in a society today that tells young men that it's okay not to have it all figured out and that you can still be accepted as long as you're not masculine. And here's what I dive into why some of the young men are confused today, right? So when it comes to young men being confused, when it comes to dating and relationships, right? We're telling young men you must earn a certain amount of money, you must have a house, car, a certain career, job, you must have a certain level of status, fame, so on and so forth, in order to date today's modern, average, everyday women today. Yet, we see examples of dudes, rather, or guys who are not grown men, impregnating some of these women, getting them pregnant, forming relationships that are really just situationships. But then the dude that's out here putting in work, trying to build himself up, establishing himself, he's having, some difficulty attracting or even dealing with women. So society tells you, you need to be more on your feminine side. You need to be, woke and more emotional. As men, you don't need to be out here, in your masculine energy. Because for some reason, right, in our society, masculinity is a threat to people, especially people who have never been around it. And yes, this does affect women too. So we tell young men today it's okay to be flamboyant. It's okay to express yourself, express your emotions, and to open up in a world where people care about how you feel, right? But on the flip side of that, you tell young men that, and those young men start acting out in ways that pretty much don't equate to a masculine man, and then people are, or at least for some women and some men, they're comfortable around that guy. So then it makes it easy for them to disrespect them. It's easy for them to put that guy in check, put that guy in his place. From a political standpoint, you can't express yourself, against anything that's woke, right? But then a modern man who is masculine, who expresses himself, who stands up for himself, in the beginning, people go against him. But then, as the truth unveils over time, people start to respect that man more because he's masculine. He expresses himself with a sense of respect. He's not walking around here flamboyant. He's working to define himself, defining his worth, walking in a sense of purpose, or at least finding something to keep his mind busy. You know, his mind is not the hands, or the his mind is not idle, so that the devil can get in there and start convincing him of evil works and deeds, right? So today's modern men are trying to figure out, how do I be masculine in a world where you're constantly talking down on masculinity, talking about it's toxic. You tell young men, you got to define your own worth. You got to define your own value. So then they define their own value, and people are not dealing with them based on their values. People are telling them, you're not worth my time. Your values are high. Your standards are high, right? You should be okay with my disrespect. You should be okay with me showing up late. You should be okay with me, not caring about how you feel, not respecting your views, not respecting your stance. But then, in turn, men must respect everything else that society puts out against masculinity. A lot of young men today are simply just trying to figure out how to work and be in a workplace where you can get along and be professional, yet at the same time, the opposite is flipped against you. So, example of that, you go into the workplace, you're working with women or even other people, right? Even you're working around men that are really not as masculine. You tell young men that you must try to fit in. You must, comply with the standards of society. You must, just do everything you can to make people feel comfortable around you. Yet people take advantage of that comfort level and they disrespect you. You must listen to what people are telling you in terms of, following rules, doing the right thing, right place, right time, right uniform. And then you see the other examples of that not being represented to you. You are told that in the workplace, you got to respect women. You got to make sure that you show up and you're not saying inappropriate things, so on and so forth. But then, on the context of that, you're getting another example of where you're hearing different stories of, these the different types of women getting around on the job and doing whatever they can and doing what they want to do just to promote and do an XYZ. So young men are trying to figure out, well, I'm working hard and I'm told I gotta respect everybody, I gotta show up, do the right things just to promote and make it in today's society. But then you're telling me You're telling me all this just to turn around and I see a different example of that in the workplace. I see the opposite example of that, rather. Right? A lot of young men today simply are trying to find and really define themselves through a sense of purpose and etiquette, defining their character, through what it is that is going to help them grow and prosper and become, the abundant human beings that we're all meant to become and be, right? So this doesn't apply to all churches, but some. You tell young men you need to get in touch with your masculine side. You need to be more, godly. You need to go to church, get your life right, get right with God, get right with the Lord. I believe all those things. I truly agree with that. This is something that I'm truly working on. But then on the flip side, you got some churches out there today who you got the preachers, they're not representing or setting the right examples. Some churches have female preachers where they're bashing the men, talking down on men, telling these men you need to be out here marrying these single mothers. Telling these men that they're not worth anything. Basing godly standards based off of what societal standards are. When in reality, we all know that because society's lost, God ain't lost. God has never lost touch with himself or anything. Whomever you choose to believe. We all know that the true mark and value, or for those that do know, that if you are a follower of God, that God has himself together. It's just the world that's out of place. Right? But we tell young men today, go to church, get it together, do the right thing, get close to God, get close to the Lord. In order to find your spouse. And sometimes you go to some churches and you're talking to the women, so on and so forth, and you realize that some of these people aren't even, they're going to church, but they're not really of God like that. That's not me judging. I'm just speaking from examples of what I've heard, what I've seen. But then you turn around and tell these men, you bash them for not going to church because they don't see those examples in church. So the workplace is one thing, right? Church is another thing, right? And this is why I'm not an advocate to push religion or beliefs on other people. I go to church myself. And so far, I like where I'm going. I think the examples that are out there are great from where I'm going, and I will continue to go where I'm going. Though not all churches are out there or out to get you or out to hurt men. Some of these churches out here are really out there to help men, especially young men. But in today's modern day society, we're teaching young men in order to love a woman or in order to be involved with women, you have to earn a certain level status of success. Having everything figured out. It's okay to get to the finish line, then you can start dating the women. But who's to say that you start dating these women, if they're there long term or not, We're teaching men that love for men, young men, especially young men, is conditional. You must meet these expectations in order to be loved, in order to feel a sense of happiness, grief, and peace. In order for you to have peace with a woman, you got to be someone that can afford, the lifestyle she desires, right? You got to be able to put it down sexually on her. You got to be funny. You got to be all these things that truly don't really make the true mark of a happy relationship. A lot of young men are confused today simply because we're telling young men today that in order for you to be successful and to climb the ranks of the ladder in our society, you have to work hard, you got to earn it, and you got to earn your own living. But then you see some people who are getting by, who are escaping, who are quote unquote successful simply because they're kissing behind or they have a little favor based on some devious works or some inner works that don't involve, working hard. You're telling young men to go to college today, right? Go to college, earn a degree, keep yourself focused, keep yourself busy. All in the same line of, college is here for young men. We're here to help young men grow and to succeed and prosper. Not all colleges are like that, but in a few, or a couple, or at least one that I went to, there was no sense of purpose, right? It was just talking down to young men. It was, a negative environment. This was at an HBCU, right? Um, the college I went to, that was an HBCU, South Carolina State. This seemed like a really negative vibe, negative environment. People didn't really care to help you as much. Not all, but at least from some perspectives, it was some people like that. People had a negative attitude towards you. People didn't respect you. People just talked down to you. So I ended up changing colleges, and I like it better there compared to where I was at. But for some guys, they experience these things. You're not a star athlete. You're just an average, everyday kid going to school, going to college. And you're told, by, society, in order to be relationship material or job material, you must have a degree, right? But then you got some of these jobs out here or some of these colleges out here that, are promoting anti-male, propaganda on their campuses. But yet we wonder why so many men are not interested in going to college today. You know, I'm not saying for young men to just give up and quit and to not go to college. I'm just saying these are some things that, I've seen from what I've heard. Now, there are colleges out there that do help young men, young people in general, right? So, all in all, today, we live in a world today that is truly confusing young men on what it means to be a man, because we tell young men one thing and you're seeing another example of it. You're seeing a lot of these young guys are seeing examples of the results that, or they're seeing results and examples where it's not working in their favor in the beginning, right? And I'm a believer that, and if you preach something, you have to follow it, right? In order for you to, tell somebody what right is, you have to make sure that you're walking it right, right? And we live in a world today that justifies, being contradictory or being hypocritical. A lot of young men don't have the examples that are set before us. So as we continue to grow, it's one thing to be compassionate for them, but you don't want to get too complacent or compassionate to where you okay some of these wrongdoings or things that some of these guys are doing. Right? Some of these guys are being led astray and misguided off the interpretation on what it truly means to think for yourself. As long as vote the way we want you to vote, like in the black community, right? We tell guys, go out here and vote. It don't matter who you vote for, just go out here and vote. So they throw out, commercials with strippers and make sure you get to the voting line. Do what you gotta do here to vote, this way or that way. But then a man votes another direction and you got his whole family pretty much at his neck because he didn't vote the way they wanted him to vote. But then you wonder why some of these guys are misguided or don't understand politics or what these people are talking about. Or they understand and they truly believe that, their family just don't want better. Right? So an example, another example I want to talk about in the black community. We talk about some of these young men are misguided and don't know how to be real men. A lot of times they haven't seen a real male father figure around. So we tell these guys, in order to, make the community better, we got to start respecting these women. We got to start cleaning up our behavior, getting jobs and giving back to the community and taking care of the community and raising strong young boys and so on and so forth. But then on the flip side of that, you're not giving them examples of that. You're not teaching them that. You're not giving them tools to help them grow and to develop into the young men So then they go to other communities where they can learn these things. They join other job markets and places where they're learning new skills and talents and realizing you don't really need the black community to be somebody, right? So, all in all, man, all I'm saying is, a lot of young men are truly being misguided today. And in one of my previous videos, I talked about, be a solution maker, be a problem solver. So, what are some ways that young men can truly define and develop themselves? Number one, if you can, get into a good Bible based church, right? Find a church that is not biased towards just helping women or taking from people. Find a church that truly and is deeply rooted in God, right? And go be a part of that church, right? If you're not religious and you don't go to church, find a good male group that you can be a part of. Join a club. Join something that has a sense of positivity and growth that will help you develop yourself and define your worth and value as a man and growth. Number two, never stop self-improving. Read self-help books. Continue to read books that are going to help you to grow and develop your mindset. Develop your mindset by learning, gaining the knowledge that you need. Right? The more you read, the more educated you are. The better off you'll be. It's one thing to go to school, one thing to go to college, but if you can read and develop your own mind, that'll take you far in life. That'll take you a lot farther and in ways bigger and better than what you could ever imagine. Number three, hit the gym. Take care of your health. Eat healthy. Take care of your health. Now get your mind right, get your body right. Get yourself in shape. Life is a marathon, not a race. You're not sprinting 100 meters throughout life. You're running a long 10K. Life is a marathon. And trust me when I believe it. Trust me when I tell you. There are going to be ups and downs in life. There are going to be ups and downs where you're not going to know what to do in a moment's notice. But being in shape helps you to wither through all that. It helps you to relieve stress. It helps you to be in shape. It helps you to manage yourself, at least for the long run or the long haul in life. Number four, get a job and manage your money right. Manage your money well. One of the biggest things I've learned throughout my life is being someone that manages money well and being someone that can set and be an example for someone who is younger. Be someone that, aspires for better. Be ambitious, right? Number five, be ambitious, right? Be a goal setter. Be a goal getter. Be ambitious. Go out there and chase your goals. Go out there and, go be successful. Not just for the sake of having women, not for the sake of just getting love and attention, but go be successful. Go be an impact maker. Go impact the world and society around you today. Those are, at least 5 things that I come up with. There's a lot more that can be said. But spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, as men, we must be healthy. In order to do those things, we have to get ourselves in the right place, around the right people, and in the right headspace for us to grow and develop. Alright, so that is all for my video today. Thank you all for watching. If you are a young man and you can relate to this video, please feel free to leave a comment down below. But please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to my content. And as I like to say before I head out, to be informed is not to be woke. Stay conscious, my friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.